Chris, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the board of GOSA and also for you and David that arranged this. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to people and give some feedback on our perspective from our side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a presentation of South African bulk terminals and who we are and what we do. And then after that, I'm going to give a separate a summary on the export process, which is basically what my understanding was that you guys requested from this presentation. However, we are open to any questions on other aspects as well, including imports or anything else. So, yes, thank you. So, I don't know if everyone in this audience is familiar with South African bulk terminals. I'm sure that a lot of what I will say here today will be knowledge that people already have, but I will just run through it again. So, just to give a little bit of background, SABT is part of Bidvest Freight, and Bidvest Freight is one of the 6 divisions of Bidvest Limited. Bidvest is a company listed on the JSE, and we are part of the top 40 listed companies on the JSE. So there are many or 5 other divisions that focus on different businesses. We focus on freight. We have sister companies doing things like minerals, bulk connections, liquid bulk, Bidvest tank terminals, port services, Bidfreight port operations, Bidvest international logistics. They're all in the freight business, but we're the only ones specializing in what we do. So I will only talk about SABT today. So at SABT, we basically we port terminals. We specialize in the handling of bulk grain products. We do not trade or anything like that. We don't ever own any product. We purely discharge and load vessels on behalf of our customers, and all in bulk. So the basic things that we do are imports of grain, exports. We can do transshipments, and we also provide bonded storage. The products that we handle, it's any bulk grain products can really be handled through here, but typically the biggest volume contributors are on the import side. It's wheat and also rice. We sometimes do smaller parcels of things like sorghum or soybeans, but wheat and rice form the bulk of our import business, and then and maize and soybeans in years like this. But in a normal year, we'll be importing wheat and rice, and we'll be exporting maize, mainly yellow maize, and lightly also soybeans. This is just a little diagram to explain how the process works. It's very straightforward. I will not talk about that. To get back to SABT, we are only present in one port in South Africa, and that's Durban. So here's a picture on the screen of the port of Durban. When you look at this, you are facing it from the direction of the port entrance. That ship there at the bottom right is busy entering the harbor, and that's a nice picture to give you a layout of the whole port. So we have 2 terminals that we operate. One is in Island View, and one is in Maiden Wharf, and they are indicated on this picture here. On the left-hand side, there's what we call DBS. It's an old name, Durban Bulk Shipping, but it's really SABT Island View, which is in the Island View complex. And on the right-hand side is RBT, which is in Maiden Wharf. So those leases are both owned and operated, and terminals operated by SABT. DBS is in an area that's actually a liquid bulk, the liquid bulk area of Durban Harbour. DBS is a bit of an anomaly. It's the only It's the only non-liquid bulk terminal in Island View. And then RBT in Maiden Wharf is in the area of the port that's more utilized for general cargo, things like minerals, bulk, break bulk. There's a little bit of liquid bulk, a little bit of containers, and then of course we do the bulk grains. So that just gives a nice idea of the harbour and where the terminals are situated. So important information is the capacity restrictions of the terminals. I will start with Island View DBS. That's just a high level summary of DBS, the restrictions. The important numbers there are the overall length of vessels, the LOA that can be accommodated. It has to be under 200 meters. The storage capacity is a maximum of 70,000 tons, and the maximum permissible draft is 12.2. In reality, it's actually 12.4 meters because the port will give us an extra 20 centimeters. So I call it 12.4 meters. And the terminal was designed and is capable of servicing both road and rail, both for imports and exports. Then RBT, our other terminal, which is located in Maiden Wharf, it's got a lot more storage capacity. As you can see there, it's 140,000 tons of grain, which is exactly double of what DBS can accommodate. The size of vessels in terms of LOA is the same. It's got to be under or up to 200, let's call it just under 200 meters. But the big difference is the permissible draft. So the draft here is only 9.5 meters, which makes a big difference in terms of the volumes that can be handled on a vessel. So for those that deal with us, and that's, I think a lot of people here will know, that not all our vessels, but a lot of our ships that we service have to do a two-berth operation. In other words, if it's an import vessel and it's coming in at the draft or arrival draft of more than, let's say, 9.5 meters, it has to go to DBS first to lighten there. So if it's a full shipment and it comes in at, let's say, 12.4 meters, we have to then reduce that draft to 9.5 meters before we can shift it across to Maiden Wharf. Now, typically, that will be between 14 and 18,000 tons that has to be offloaded at DBS. It will then come to Maiden Wharf, where we will complete the loading or the discharging. For exports, you have the inverse. You either have to start loading the vessel in Maiden Wharf until you reach that draft of 9.5, then you can complete it at Island View, or the whole vessel can sometimes start and finish at DBS because of the draft. Yes, just some more numbers in terms of our capacity. I'll start with DBS in Island View. In terms of rail, I'll start with imports. In terms of rail wagons, we can typically load 64 wagons a day. That gives you one train per day shift and one train per night shift of 32 wagons each. We can load out up to 120 road trucks per day, and the vessel can discharge on average about 7,000 tons a day. Just to point out those numbers for rail and road, that if we do both simultaneously, then obviously one of those they will both, the overall number will be affected. In terms of exports, at DBS, we can offload 64 rail trucks a day quite comfortably. In fact, we sometimes can do more than that. But a train per 12 hours is sort of the average that we can comfortably do there. And in terms of offloading road trucks, it's about 240 a day. We have done more in the past, but that's when everything works well and we have no unforeseen delays. And in terms of loading out onto the ship, the average load rate that we achieve at DBS is 16,000 tons per day. Moving on to to the other terminal, RBT in Maiden Wharf. On the import side there, we can load up to 250 road trucks per day. On average, the vessel can discharge about 12,500 tons per day. I'm talking about wheat and rice here. On the export side, our intake here can take up to 100 road trucks per day, and we can load out 10,000 tons onto a ship per day. So just to point out that both terminals are fully capable of doing imports and exports, but the way that the system is set up on imports, we do most of it in Maiden Wharf. If you want a rough split, we do about 25% in at DBS and 75% in Maiden Wharf. And then on the exports, it's just the opposite way. So we'll do about 25% of the loading in Maiden Wharf at RBT and 75% at DBS. So this is just some marketing really, but this company has been established for a long time, and over time we've developed good working relationships with all role players in the value chain, and our people is also something that we are proud of. We have a very low staff turnover, and we mostly have quite highly experienced people in all different departments. That goes for operations, for maintenance, for IT, and everywhere. So I was asked to talk specifically about the upcoming export season and how the process will work, or how it typically works. So we are moving on to that. So in terms of the export slots that we will potentially allocate per year, this is it's just a schematic illustration. So the maximum that we will do per month, and that hasn't changed for a long time, of 5 slots per month. And the export season in a normal year, and if you exclude the last, say, 3 years when things were completely abnormal, typically year runs from, it starts in May, when this maize is available early in the season, and it will carry on until about August when it starts slowing down. And those are also the months when we allocate five slots per month. It also used to be a long time ago, a time of year when wheat imports used to slow down, but we've seen a different pattern in the last few years. But that's 5 per month. There are months when we won't do 5 because of mainly weather related delays. When it starts raining in September, we know that we don't have enough shipping days available to service 5 vessels, so we will go down to 4. And then there are months when there's public holidays and so forth, where we will also take that into account. But this slide here just gives you an indication of what we see as our slot capacity. And then I just want to mention as well that we do sometimes also do top-up loading for Agriport. Agriport is our other, it's not ours, but is the other grain terminal in Maiden Wharf. Customers there normally load about 40,000 tons, and they may require a top-up, which can only really happen at DBS. It's the only terminal on the port that's got the desired draft. But we do not do prior commitments for top-ups. We will first make sure that our own slots are serviced, and also taking into account import vessels that discharging at our terminals. So that's basically on the Agriport slots. In terms of how the export process works, how slots are allocated, this year is different. So we didn't do it the normal way this year. But in years when it becomes clear early on in the season, and this is normally in the beginning of the calendar year, and even towards the end of the previous calendar year, likely in the last few years, that there is a strong demand for export slots, we will have a slot auction. And the idea behind this is to give all prospective exporters a opportunity to get export slots and to be able to bid on a slot. So it's open to all. It's open to all interested exporters. Um, we have gone slightly off this in the last few years, where we pre-allocated some slots to the previous year's biggest exporters, but we will still keep most of it open for the auction. And how it basically works is, for each slot, customers can bid a premium on the slot, and at the end of that process, whoever put the highest bid on a specific slot will be allocated that slot. When the auction is over, when the auction is completely over, then we will work out the average of all the premiums paid, and that will then be paid back to customers when they load their vessels. So the idea behind this is not for us to profit from the premiums. It's just a vehicle to allocate slots. It also helps customers who manage to buy a slot for lower than the average to get a discount on that slot, and those who bought the most, say, in demand slots at higher premiums, will then end up paying more for their slots. Once you've booked a slot, you pay a deposit. The deposit is non-refundable. When the vessel is loaded, that is credited against your invoice. So you basically, it's just upfront payment on your invoice. However, if you don't execute the slot and we can't transfer the slot to another exporter, then the deposit is forfeited. We also put a rule in place where one trader or one exporter can do a maximum of 2 slots per calendar month. The focus is normally on one product only while we're in the middle of a program, and 90% of the time it will be yellow maize 1. It has happened in the past that the market agrees that we switch over to something like, say, white maize for a short period or whatever, but it's normally yellow maize 1, because our system works most efficiently if we only do one product at a time. The way the intakes work, the way the silos are structured, everything just works better when we do one product at a time, and that is what we do. Okay, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. I just want to talk about some challenges that the logistics chain faces during the process. I'll start with road deliveries. One of the biggest challenges that we have is that exporters do not adhere to the daily slot allocations for the number of road trucks that they are allowed to send to the port. So we typically will allow exporters to start delivering for a shipment a month, or let's call it 4 weeks, before their slot, which is quite achievable if you stick to the plan and send us the correct number of trucks per day. However, that, as we all know, and most of us will know, that in the past we've had massive problems here where some exporters either start late or they can't get going in the beginning, and then they send too many trucks to try and make up for earlier missed opportunities. This is a big problem. It causes offloading delays in the harbor. It causes poor truck turnaround times. Transport becomes inefficient and too expensive. It causes congestion on the N3 and in the harbor everywhere, and it just puts pressure on the whole system. And I am sure that in the next presentation we will hear more about that. Also, sometimes the port storage is full, and the intakes have to close because we can't take in any more cargo. This typically happens, and I'm actually going to get more into this on my next slide, when ships are late or if hatches fail and we can't start loading, and our storage capacity, sorry, and our storage capacity. Sorry, I just accidentally jumped ahead. Yeah, our storage capacity gets full, and it sometimes forces us to put a halt to deliveries until we start loading again, and this causes a lot of problems. Um, so some prospective solutions that we are looking at. We have actually, as SABT, we have procured a new truck booking system that we're going to be using for the first time this year. And my colleague Jason Knight, who's also on this workshop, uh, will answer any questions on this. He is basically in charge of this project. But we're putting a new truck booking system in place, which will prevent people from sending trucks or getting their trucks to enter our system if they haven't been booked as per the system requirements. And it's going to be something that traders and exporters will have to get used to, but it will have a positive impact on the overall process. I've no doubt about that. And we can once again just say that we ask all exporters to strictly adhere to their daily slot allocations. That will make a big difference. And we will try to communicate better with everybody. And I don't know. I think I make this threat every year to say there will be consequences for offenders, but we really have to look at a situation where all exporters adhere to their daily slots. In terms of rail, I'm not going to say anything about rail. We had a meeting with TFR yesterday. We will offload rail if there is rail maize on wagons, export wagons. However, that will have to fit in with the rest of the program. In terms of outbound logistics, just some problems that we sometimes experience here as well. Ships arriving late. The maize export system works on a strict slot system of 6 days per vessel. And it sometimes happens that a ship is not here in time when it's supposed to start loading. That can have a knock-on effect on the whole rest of the program. And for obvious reasons, that is a problem. A big problem as well is vessels that where the hatches fail. When ships arrive here, they can't just start loading. There are numerous tests that are done and things that have to pass before they can start loading. Cleanliness, watertight test. And we oftentimes have ships with dirty hatches, and it can take up to 3 or 4 days to get the vessel then ready to start loading. And in that instance, if the next vessel is not ready or waiting outside already, it creates a knock-on impact. And that's typically when we have to stop the intakes and the whole program falls behind. Marine services delays, that's just our servicing from Transnet National Port Authority, berthing, sailing of vessels, also shifting ships between the two terminals, DBS and RBT. Um, Unfortunately, we've seen the last number of years that there are delays, and there's also a problem in Maiden Wharf where they will not do any movements at night if a ship is over a certain length, 190 meters, and you have to wait until the next morning. Those things add up, and if you add it up, it can be a few days delays worth of delays in a month. Weather delays. Hopefully now in May, June, July, August, we won't see a lot of rain, but we oftentimes have rain and wind delays that prevent movement of shipments. Of course, terminal delays. We as a terminal can also sometimes have internal problems that causes delays. We can have mechanical breakdowns or electrical breakdowns. Despite our best efforts, it does sometimes happen. Um, However, we've really tried hard to prepare for this upcoming season and make sure that everything is serviced and running well. Load shedding, who knows when load shedding is going to come back? It's not a problem at DBS, but in Maiden Wharf we do get load shedding. And then lastly, cargo shortage in the beginning of the season. Um, Sometimes when we have early slots booked, especially in May and June, and the harvesting process is a little bit delayed, we see that it can become a challenge to get enough product or maize to the port to get those ships loaded. I'm really hoping it's not going to happen this season. but that's sometimes a problem as well.